My first one is Daniel Porter. Now, does anybody know anything about Daniel Porter before we get started here?
No.
I know he was a running back, wasn't he? He holds a couple records, or held a couple of records.
Yes.
Yeah. All I knew is that he was a football player because I Google searched to make sure that someone was covering a football player.
Okay.
I think he played the last 10 or 12 years, didn't he?
Yeah. So his senior season was my freshman year at Tech. So he was indeed a running back from 2006 to 2009. The way I've done this anyway is I'm going to go over his stats at Tech, kind of give everyone an overview, since I know probably most people that listen to this show are newer fans, I think. So that was part of the reason we wanted to do this. So Porter went to high school in Baton Rouge, where he rushed 204 times for over 2,000 yards and 34 touchdowns as a senior, which put him first team All-State in 4A. And then he was also the offensive MVP of the Baton Rouge All-Metro team. So luckily for Tech, he's undersized. He's 5'9", and I don't know how much he weighed in high school, but by the time he was a senior at Tech, he only weighed 190 pounds, which is,
hell?
That's pretty heavy for a 5'9" person, right? But like that's some muscle. But yeah, Josh.
I'm a thick boy.
But yeah, so he came to Tech in 2006, which is before any of us on this show did. But his stats in his first 2 seasons when he was a backup to Patrick Jackson are pretty okay. He was the second string running back, so he got in quite a bit. Had about 80 carries in his freshman season and somewhere in the 90s in his sophomore season, and totaled about 1,000 yards across those 2 seasons. So not bad. But then as a junior, that was the first year that he really took over as the starter. And so he led the way, rushing for 222 times, 1,164 yards, which, quick trivia question. Does anybody know where that season ranks in all-time Tech rushing yards per season?
Number 2.
No.
Knowing how the show usually works, I'll guess 69th.
Lamau.
No. Josh, you got a guess?
Number 1.
No, that's 10. So he's number 10 on that list, and he rushed for 9 touchdowns that season. So in the 2008 Independence Bowl, which was Tech's first bowl game in quite a while, Porter actually scored Tech's only offensive touchdown. Tech won that game 17-10. Can anyone tell me what the other touchdown was in that game?
Kickoff return for a touchdown, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Philip motherfucking Livis, which you can bleep that if you want, Nathan. I don't really care.
That's his legal middle name, so I think we're allowed to keep it in. I'll have to check.
Didn't they used to call him Saturday Night Livis? I saw that somewhere. Yeah.
Yes.
He's from Bossier, I think. No, he's not.
I don't know where he's from.
Before my time at Tech.
He's very good. He was very fun to watch, and I have his jersey in my closet right now.
He's from Homa.
Let me go look up his highlight.
Homa's not even a place.
Take me home.
So that was a really good junior year for Porter. And then as a senior, he had another really great year. He rushed 211 times for 1,132 yards and 11 touchdowns. And so that put his career numbers at 5.5 yards per carry on 614 carries. So that's pretty ridiculous to be rushing at that clip, being the workhorse back for 2 seasons and still getting 5.5 yards per carry. So I honestly don't know why he didn't score more touchdowns in his career, but I could just be jaded by the fact that Kenneth Dixon came shortly after him and, rushed for 71 career touchdowns on the ground. So Porter only ended up with 28 rushing touchdowns in his career, which is less than he had his senior year of high school. So maybe Dooley wasn't using him properly or something. I don't know.
Well, who would ever believe that?
So my favorite thing about Porter is that he has one of my favorite plays in all of football to this day. To set the stage, Tech was playing LSU. Tech was 3-6 at the time, and LSU was number 8. So this was in November, and Tech's trailing 10-6 with 2 seconds left in the first half. And they've got the ball 4th and goal from the LSU 2-yard line. So do we kick the field goal? Nah. What do we have to lose at that point? And so then this happened.
The senior from right here in Baton Rouge.
Oh, look at that. Josh. Like he's never seen it before.
Come on, man.
I was caught a little off guard. I remember seeing it now that I've seen it, but
I'm going to go back. Okay, so the quarterback flexes out, pretends he can't hear, which is believable. Porter does the jump pass. Not as quite as good as Derrick Henry.
Dontari Poe.
Yeah, but that was, I mean, think of the implications here. Tech is like probably an 800-point underdog, playing on the road in the most vaunted stadium in the SEC, one of the most vaunted in the entire country. Nothing to play for, and it's a ballsy call, and it's an awesome call. It's a great play.
Yeah, and so Porter, who's again 5'9", makes that jump pass throw like he's freaking Tim Tebow, and Dennis Morris there actually led Tech. He's a tight end, led Tech in receiving, that's just a different time there because now we don't even have tight ends on the roster.
Right.
We have one now. But yeah, also LSU was 24.5-point favorites in that game.
Is that all?
Yeah, they only scored 24 points in that game. So we referenced this on last week's episode, but we lost 24-16 in the end. So yeah, so that's one of my favorite plays of all time because it was just like a really hype moment. And for, until later in the second half, it was like, man, we could actually win this game. So my last thing about his Tech career, when he stepped onto Tech's campus, Jason Cooper from, I believe, the early 90s was Tech's all-time leading rusher with 3,342 yards. When Porter left Tech's campus after the 2009 season, he was the all-time leading rusher. So my question to you guys is, how many yards did Porter surpass Cooper by?
869.
Nathan, you got one?
I'll keep with the 69 joke.
Okay.
420.
Josh? He passed him by 10 yards. So
wow.
Same answer as before.
Yeah, he became the new leading rusher by 10 yards, 3,352, which of course was then smashed by Kenneth Dixon a few years later. But yeah, so now after Tech, obviously Daniel Porter went on to become a Hall of Fame NFL running back, right? Except no, he didn't. So
wow, way to shit on Daniel Porter, bro.
he went undrafted, but he ended up getting invited to the Carolina Panthers as an undrafted free agent. Panthers fans on their message boards kind of had mixed reactions. Some said that they liked his scrappiness and that he played with a lot of heart and kept his feet going until he hit the ground. But most doubted his size and ability to make it onto an already crowded roster, which ended up being true. It didn't work out in Carolina. He got cut after OTAs and it didn't even make it to training camp, let alone through it. So,
well, look at that, man. Panthers being a garbage organization.
So he turned his attention to the north and went up to Canada, signed with the Edmonton Eskimos of the CFL to their practice squad in September of 2010. His rookie season up there, he rushed 86 times for 603 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's like incredible.
Yeah, 7 yards per carry.
That's
7 yards per carry.
ridiculous.
Yeah, and he earned CFL Offensive Player of the Week for his Week 16 performance against the British Columbia Lions. He carried 21 times for 170 yards in that game. So, dude was lighting it up. He was also named the Eskimos' most outstanding rookie in 2010, but then unexpectedly got released halfway through the 2011 season, in part due to the CFL's import player rules, which, if you remember my post on the Japanese X League at all, these foreign leagues have limits on how many American-born players you can have on your team.
Right.
So an Edmonton newspaper said, quote, "At the start of training camp, it would have been difficult to imagine Eskimos' running game without, but things changed in the first 10 games of the season. Head coach Kavis Reed said that the other running backs in the room provide us with a lot of flexibility, being that they're Canadians." So, like I mentioned, they have a limit. How many players of their 46-man rosters do you guys think could be American?
10, because that's the number of the last 2 times.
I'm pretty
6.
sure I should know the import limit because I've seen exactly 4 CFL games.
Okay.
But I honestly, I don't know. Isn't it like 25?
It's 20. So you were the closest, Matt.
So 10 plus 10 this time.
They can have 20 American-born players, but only 16 of those can be starters, and the other 4 are, quote, designated Americans.
What the
This
hell?
is an official term, yeah. Which means that they can only replace another American-born player after the game starts, and then that original American-born player is out for the game. So either they're injured or you kind of pull them out like you do in baseball, right? And if you replace your right fielder, your original right fielder is done for that game, right? Or the designated Americans can play on special teams. So after being released, Porter said, "I had a good season, but I still got released. There's no hard feelings with Edmonton. That's just business." So Porter went back to Baton Rouge, where he's originally from. But the following week, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, also known as the Ticats of the Canadian Football League, were looking for an American running back to back up their American starter. And Porter, having the experience that he had, was a perfect fit. So he said he was sitting on his couch in Baton Rouge when the Ticats called, so he immediately packed up and went back to Canada. Despite that experience he had, he only appeared in one game, the final game of the season. He had 8 carries for 24 yards and then got released in the following offseason. So his promising start to his CFL career kind of got derailed because he wasn't Canadian, apparently. So that kind of sucks, right?
It does.
Yeah.
In 2012, Porter actually went to Tech's Pro Day. So I don't remember that, or I've never
I don't either.
remember hearing about, people who have already graduated coming back to Pro Day to try to get another shot. But he and Tank Calais, if you guys remember him, you probably don't, but
No.
he was a linebacker for Tech.
What a good name.
Tank.
As a linebacker,
Calais.
especially.
Yeah.
And Calais, which is a provincial city in northern France.
Okay.
So unfortunately, that shot that he was looking for at the Pro Day doesn't appear to have happened. So after that, I couldn't really find any more information about him other than dubious means. So let's just say he's working in private industry in Baton Rouge now, and lots of his social media posts are in support of Tech and the Bulldogs. So shout out to Daniel Porter, great Bulldog. Had a very short-lived Canadian football career, and now is back home in Louisiana. Working for the man, I guess. So
There you go.
All
Is
right.
this where we applaud or?
We can edit in some applause if you'd like.
Yay!